So let's talk about this guy who a lot of folks say was perhaps intelligence for said authoritarian um, apartheid government, Mr. Jeffrey Epstein here. In this saga this week, on Wednesday, a federal judge denied the Trump administration's request to unseal grand jury materials related to Epstein. Last week, they denied a different request for grand jury documents in Ghislaine Maxwell's case. This week, U.S. District Judge Richard Berman sharply criticized the Trump administration for seeking to unseal these records when the DOJ already has hundreds of thousands of pages of files related to Epstein in its possession. So the DOJ, in their beneficence, released interview transcripts from Ghislaine Maxwell last month, who talked to Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, Trump's former personal attorney. And if you recall, he gave her limited immunity for 2 days of testimony. That is the transcripts that were released this week, audio and video versions, in which, surprise, surprise, Ghislaine Maxwell, the partner in crime to Epstein, co-conspirator, and an abuser in her own right, said she never witnessed any inappropriate conduct from any man, including President Trump. She denied the existence of an incriminating client list of individuals that benefited from Epstein's crimes and maintain her innocence. Leslie, apparently, she also claimed that Trump helps little old ladies cross the street and buys Girl Scout cookies and is generally an upstanding all around human being.
Well, I find it just completely insulting because it is elevating what she has to say over the real victims. I did actually recently speak to a man who tried to say that the girls who went to Epstein's island knew what they were getting themselves into, which that is a talking point, right? And
Children.
I was just so deeply viscerally offended, and these girls were lied to, they were groomed, they were misled, and then they were raped and taken advantage of. Ghislaine Maxwell is highly motivated to lie because she wants to get out of prison. She's already used her lies to get herself into a cushy minimum security, they call it club fed.
Yeah,
And
she's a known
what she
perjurer, right? So we can't really exactly take her testimony seriously, right?
Yeah, but, this every woman should be deeply, deeply offended. We are trying to be basically erased from leadership, from believability, from anywhere, from all spheres of life, and this isn't going the way I mean, how is this going to benefit humanity? How is this really going to, you know, keep us going? Yeah, I don't know. Release the files. It's a distraction. Release the Epstein files. We all know Trump's been named in them because the DOJ was tasked with finding his name in the Epstein files, and they worked day and night to, highlight every instance where his name was. And everybody should be offended because if you look at the documentary about Jeffrey Epstein, they were looking for girls from poor backgrounds, troubled girls, maybe your parents weren't very involved. That's a huge swath of the Republican voting base, have been lower income white people. And they are deeply right to want the release of these files. And I don't know. We can't stop talking about it because it is an absolute tragedy, and the victims need to be heard and honored, not Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah, so well, this week we didn't, but the House Oversight Committee did receive a batch of Epstein files. Chairman of that committee, James Comer from Kentucky, confirmed their arrival in a statement on social media saying thousands of pages of Epstein related documents had been delivered to the committee. Comer said the Justice Department would conduct its own review of what should be redacted in the files. Real trustworthy players there, we're sure. Critics, including some Republicans, say they're worried the release will be far from comprehensive, and Democrats have argued the release to the public will be limited and carefully controlled by Republicans. Riley, do you tend to agree or disagree with that sentiment?
I agree that, given the situation leadership that we're under, that they're going to protect the people that they deem are worthy of protecting and go after people that they deem are disposable. I don't understand why this is why this is not a bipartisan issue, because even Leslie, like you said, like someone uses a talking point, oh, they knew what they were getting into. They were minors. They can't make that decision for themselves. Why are we justifying someone abusing women and abusing minors just because they have money and influence? Your money and influence shouldn't protect you from the law. Coming from the party that, again, like I said, is the party that is of law and order. Why are you pretending like this isn't happening because they have money and influence? If you want law and order all over, do law and order all over, but don't pick and choose who it's going to apply to.
Yeah, and I think we have to keep saying it again and again and again throughout this Epstein stuff. Um, Trump was right there the whole time. These guys were best friends for at least 10 years. There's countless photos and videos and documentation of these guys being close associates. Everything else, all of the news that we talk about on a day-to-day basis. Um, we talked about this a little bit before we went on air. Is it a distraction from the Epstein stuff? Or is the Epstein stuff a distraction from everything else? It's all horrible, but I mean, Jesse, I think as long as this story stays in the news, I think folks like us have to keep putting Trump and Epstein together. That's why I use that photo like every week.
100%. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I don't think that the majority of Americans are like evil people, right? I think that they voted for Trump because they had some misunderstandings about a couple of things, and and we have a media environment that just floods them with lies, etc. But they had economic uncertainty, which was very reasonable, and they really did have that. And they saw political gamesmanship and bureaucracy that wasn't in their best interest, which again was also true. However, Trump portrayed himself as the drain the swamp guy when he is, again, king of the swamp. He is Swamp Thing himself. And the more that we could show that to people and say, he's not trying to get pedophiles out of government. He's the biggest pedophile that's ever been in government. And he wants that to continue. And he's fighting hard to make sure it continues. I think that helps break the spell and helps wake these working class people up who, like me, wanted a change and a fight back against the two-party system that was holding everybody back. But they just were willing to accept this, like, oh, well, maybe, I know he's running as a Republican, but the establishment hates him. And so maybe he's going to shake things up. Like, I think that people, I'm a lot more sympathetic in 2016 than in 2024, but I do understand where people are coming from. I obviously don't think they made the right decision, but I think that giving them the information to help them make better decisions in the future is the way forward, rather than just lecture them about how sexist and racist they are, right? Like, okay, you care about kids, you hate pedophiles, great. Do I have a solution for you? Let's get rid of Trump, right?
For whatever it's worth, this is the thing that seems to be sticking to him, driving a wedge between him and some on his base. And yeah, like you said, it is incumbent on us to drive that wedge further. So they can't do things like election rigging out loud.